So dealing with stress and anxiety, this was the subject that Saho asked me to talk about. And we spend a lot of time on this particular subject, working with clients, working with children as well. We've launched some programs for children as well. Do you like my image there? Punch today in the face. Sometimes I feel like that. I just want to punch today in the face. I'm like, I'm done with that day. And what we'll be talking about is what are the causes of stress, how to alleviate that stress, and then jumping straight into a meditation. I've got my guitar here, so we'll do a little bit of chanting, a little bit of meditation as well. But before I do that, what I want to hear from you is what causes you to be stressed? What causes you to be stressed? Just put it in the chat window for me. And it's going to be different things for different people. The unknown, okay, cool. Whereas for some people, the unknown is exciting. For me, the unknown is great. I love the unknown. Anxiety, Sangeeta, if you could just elaborate on that. What causes you to become anxious? Not being able to see family and friends. Yeah, absolutely. That's the future. Arguments. Anybody who lives with anybody else in this period, I'm sure you're going to be arguing. Uncertainty. No quiet and peaceful moments. Yeah, okay. Getting that peace and quiet is really hard. 9 people in the house. That's crazy. Okay. Lack of control. Nice. So we all will experience some stress, and I'm going to focus on this one simple model for this session. It's stimulus and response. There's a great book. It's by Viktor Frankl, and his book is this book about his life as a Holocaust survivor. Viktor Frankl, he wrote this great book. It's called Man's Search for Meaning. And he was a Holocaust survivor. And then after the Holocaust, journalists, other people would ask him, they'd interview him, and they'd say, how did you survive? What did you do? Because you were in the worst possible conditions that any human being could go through. What's your advice? How did you get through it? And he said, well, I didn't allow people to control me, essentially. But they said, wait a minute, hold on. How could you not allow anyone to control you? You were being controlled. You were told where to sit. You were told what to eat. You were being poisoned. You were being stripped of all dignity. And he said, well, I did not allow them to control my mind. They could control my body, but I didn't allow them to control my mind. He said, I built up a space between stimulus and response. I.e., when something happened to me, so I was given some stimulus, I chose how to respond to that stimulus. And they said, but you were being prodded, you were being probed. How could you possibly choose to respond at that point? And he said, I needed to train my mind. And I'm sure all of us can relate to having different levels of space there between stimulus and response. When you are stressed out, when you are anxious, naturally that space between stimulus and response gets very narrow, and your interactions with people will be very snappy. Your reactions to certain things may not be, you may feel like they're not under my control. And what we're talking about here is something called emotional intelligence. At this point, I have control over my emotions versus when this space is really narrow, the space between stimulus and response, my emotions have control over me. Now, what happens when we're super stressed out and our space between stimulus and response gets narrowed? I'm going to ask you, if you've got any questions, as Sahil said, please just post them in the box. When that space gets narrowed, how do you react? And you can be honest, we've got a safe space here, I believe. How do you react when that space gets narrowed between stimulus and response? For me, I get quiet. So I get really quiet and I want to keep to myself. Terrible English there, but yeah, I get quiet and I want to keep to myself. What about for you? How does it play out? I'll be the first to admit I get a little grumpy. Thanks, Davina, for being honest. Yeah, you shout, get irritable, shout out. Anyone else? Sahil, what happens to you on a call on you?
I get quiet too.
You get quite irritable. Yeah, and you're no longer in control at that point, emotional cry. So what we want to be able to do is manage that space between stimulus and response. Allow ourselves the ability to control how we respond in those situations. And we're not talking about being superhuman here. We're not talking about being a robot here at all, actually. What we're talking about is working on techniques that can allow us to increase that space between stimulus and response. And the reality is that this is work. And any skill, anything we can do, we can work at it and we can learn how to improve it, how to create good habits. How many people drive here? Anyone drive? Who drives? Yeah, most people will drive. I'm guessing if you're working in schools as a teacher, public transport is pretty poor. You're gonna have to drive there. Now, when you were driving, that you went through a process of learning. So I'm not talking about going out to drive right now. I'm just going to give you this as an example for how we learn. When you were young, how do you think driving worked? When you were like 2 or 3 years old, or any children that you interact with, primary school children, how do they think driving works? I'm guessing some of you are like, that's what kids do, eh? With the steering wheel. My daughter, she's 3, she does that. Now, it sounds like I'm going to be harsh about her. She is unconsciously incompetent, okay? She doesn't know what she doesn't know at this point. She's unconsciously incompetent. Then she'll get a little bit older. I love cars, by the way. They're my favorite material object. When I was 17, on my 17th birthday, my birthday present for my parents was a driving lesson. And I thought, I'm going to be so good at this. And I got in the car. I was terrible. The clutch all over the place, stalling the car. It was like, uh-oh, reality hit me. At that point, I became consciously incompetent. I realized I don't know how to drive this car. And then over time, I got better and better, took loads of lessons, had my test, and I passed my test. So I passed my test. At that point, what do you think I am? You can put it in the chat box. In fact, I'll jump straight to it. At that point, I was consciously competent. I now know how to drive and I'm competent. Would you agree if you've passed your test, you're competent? You can give me a yes or a no in the box. Yeah, I've seen some of you say, yeah, you are. I would say that you are competent. Yeah, absolutely. But you're conscious about it. You're like, oh, second gear, around the corner, mirror signal maneuver. You're thinking about every single step as you're taking it. Then you get so good at driving, I'm sure you've had the experience, where you drive for about 10 minutes down the road and you think, how the hell did I get from there to here without killing anybody? Because I haven't been paying attention. And you're like, did I stop at the traffic lights there? Have you had that experience? And now, you know, of course, there's some bad habits in there, but you are unconsciously competent. You don't even need to think about it anymore. Some of the steps are just in your subconscious or unconscious mind. And anything we learn, we go through those steps. And the same thing happens with emotional intelligence. Taking care of ourselves, managing our stress levels is a process, a learning process that we need to go through. You might come across some people who are more chilled than others. Would you agree with that? There's some people in life, they are just super chilled. I mean, Sahil, I keep picking on him because he's right there in front of me. He's one of those people in life. I never see him stressed, never see him get too worked up about anything. But who knows, maybe his wife's got a different perspective on the whole thing. But there's certain people that they just seem to be chilled, and other people who seem to get stressed more. It doesn't matter your starting point. Everybody can learn to improve and increase that space between stimulus and response. Maybe that's too wide for you. Yes, I'll pick on Sahil again because we're good friends. But maybe that's too wide, and Sahil needs to probably bring that in a little bit. Yeah, I'm just joking. You probably don't. But the key thing here is being able to manage that space between stimulus and response. My spiritual teacher, my guru, he said, because I was a teacher, went to become a teacher, he actually gave me this name, Sandeepani Muni Das. This is my spiritual name. Sandeepani was the teacher of Krishna and Balaram. So he said, and Avanti, this is where they went to study. So he gave me this name, Sandeep and Muni, and then he said to me, he said, this is, I want you to be the servant of the teacher. And he said, whenever you deal with children, sometimes you may have to get angry. He said, your face can be like a lion on the outside, but inside in your heart, it must be as soft as a mother. And that's always stayed with me. And it's part of this lesson, choosing the space between stimulus and response. I'm choosing that output. Like I'm pretending that I'm upset or I'm angry because something's serious or something needs to be taken seriously. But genuinely, I'm in control at that moment. That doesn't happen all the time. I'm just saying something that I aspire to do, especially with my own children. So this is really powerful because it allows us to choose the response. It doesn't mean that we should always be walking on clouds and that we should be floating through the ether through all of our interactions. It just means that you get to control what that response is. How do we do that? Well, first of all, let's try and understand the different types of stress. Maybe you've seen this before, but stress is a good thing. We all need a certain level of stress to do anything. I'm picking up on Mike's point because he said that's because Sahil doesn't do anything. Sahil, I know you're super busy and you're doing lots of things, but maybe Mike's got a point. So we need to get to this point. There's a good level of stress where you feel motivated to do something. Otherwise, what do we all do? And I'm sure all of your students do it, those of you that are teachers. What's the number one thing that people do as human beings? What do we do when we've got an assignment? You've got 3 weeks to get this assignment due. What happens for the first 2 weeks? I'm going to put it in there. We procrastinate, absolutely. We waste loads of time. Then when you get close, I've got 1 week to go. Okay, the stress starts kicking in. I've got to get it going. I've got to get it moving. What that quickly can turn into is bad stress because we lose the balance. We then get demotivated. We lose sleep. We become anxious. And what we want to be careful of is that we're not pushed into this bad stress. What pushes us into bad stress? You help me out just in the chat window. So good stress, we all need that good stress. We all want to do it. I'm sure when you applied for the job that you've got right now, when you went for that interview, there was a good level of stress. Like, I really want this job. I'm going to go for it. You get it. And you feel good about that. It's a good level of stress. But what then drives people to a bad level of stress? Fear. Dina, that's good. Absolutely. Again, coming back to this idea of stimulus, space between stimulus and response, knowing what you can and can't control. Someone said unrealistic expectations. Yeah, sometimes we put unrealistic expectations on ourselves and on other people. Not seeing results. Cool. External factors out of our control. This not seeing results is such an important thing right now, because all of us, the world that's been created for us now, especially now, is all about results. It's all about how much does somebody else appreciate what I've done through likes on social media, through people talking about it, people sharing it. And Krishna makes this really strong point in Bhagavad Gita. Anyone who's read Bhagavad Gita will know one of the strongest points that Krishna makes to Arjuna is, don't worry about the result. That's out of your hands. All you need to worry about is doing the best you can do. The result, leave that to me. That's what Krishna says. Leave that to me. Leave that to your karma. You just control what you put in. Know that everything is fair and everything will work out fair. That for me is one of my guiding principles when I do anything or when I get stressed about the result, because quite often I will. I run a business. I've got employees all over the world. I've got to pay their salaries. If a client, like in this COVID environment, client says, sorry, we're not doing training anymore. I'm like, oh no, what's going to happen? So I am worried about the result and I do everything I can to manage that result. But ultimately I surrender and say, Krishna, you know what? It's up to you. You told me don't worry about it. So I'm not going to worry about it. External factors out of our control. So what we need to do is make sure that we're on the good side of stress. Now, there's lots of things that we can do. For me, as I said already, Bhagavad Gita is a guiding principle for me. as in the principles within Bhagavad Gita are guiding for me. Meditation is really powerful, and we're going to share some meditation in this session. But also taking some time out to understand what's going on in my body, what are the symptoms I'm experiencing, and how to alleviate those symptoms. So when we get stressed, what's happening to your body and mind? Well, stress is designed to help us. There's good stress. We start to get loads of adrenaline, and cortisol starts building up in our bodies. So all of these, what we call stress hormones. And that's building up our body. And what we want to do is release it. We want to release it. Now, in the olden days, we all lived with some element of outdoors. We would walk, we'd have to go out, we'd have to do lots of things. And now we're kind of cooped up, especially in this environment. That's why lots of arguments happen, because you've got all of this adrenaline, all of this cortisol. It leads us to this fight or flight, and that's got to come out somewhere. Where does it come out? For anyone, where does it come out for you? Shouting. That's the number one thing. That's what happens. And afterwards, you calm down, you think, what did I just say? Did I say that? Yeah, or worrying, thanks, Kanta. Yeah, it will come out in different ways for different people. What happens? Our heart rate starts to increase. Our breath becomes shortened. Now, our body plays out our emotional state. So whatever we are feeling in our mind, whatever we're feeling in our heart, gets played out through our body. However, our body is also a precursor for our emotional state. What does that mean? Our body is a precursor for our emotional state. There's a great study done by Harvard. Many people have probably seen the TED talk on this. And this, the group of research at Harvard, they got a group of people and they said, look, we're going to take one group of people and we're going to put them here in this room and another group of people here, same demographics. And we're telling them that we're interviewing them for a particular role within the university. And they told one group, you're going to do power poses. So you're going to stand there like, yeah, ooh, stand up, your hands on the waist, Superman, that kind of stuff. And the other group, we're going to get you to sit like this. We're going to get you to have closed body language, head down, not looking happy. And then they interviewed both sets of people. And the panel had no idea, those people that were interviewing had no idea what was going on in the research or anything. And all of the panel found that they wanted to recruit the people from the room that were doing those power poses. And the professors that were conducting the research, their conclusion was that your body language can be a precursor for your emotional state. That means you can use your body language to control, you can use your body to control your emotions. And I genuinely believe that. I've had many experiences throughout my life, super stressful experiences, where I feel like I'm out of control and then I need to rein that in. You know, one of them was I had a terrible, terrible experience in immigration at the beginning of this year. Supposed to be in America, at the border, the police, for no reason other than, I would say, racism, pulled me out and started to interrogate me. I go to New York probably once every month and have no problems at all. But it's one particular officer. At that point in time, I had a shortness of breath. I could feel that adrenaline building as they were interrogating me, trying to get information that just didn't exist from me. I had to just bring myself under control. I had to remind myself, I get to choose the space between stimulus and response. So it's really important we do that. Of course, there are lots of other things that we can do to help relieve our stress when that adrenaline builds up. Talk to someone. Talk to someone who is sensible, I would say. Not anybody, but talk to someone sensible who's going to help you question your thought patterns. So my last point here, question your thought pattern. This is really important. Sometimes we get into these messed up thoughts. Oh my God, everything's going to be bad. It's all going to collapse. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. Oh no, there's no point. Absolutely no point in doing that. You are not going to solve anything. So talking to someone, music, entertainment, exercise, meditation, we're going to try that. Diet, getting a good, healthy diet is important. Choosing the right foods to put into your body. You are what you eat. And that's a genuine thing. That becomes your body, choosing the right things. Sleep. I'll be doing a sleep session tonight. Is anyone on Insta, Facebook? Yeah, a few of you. Sahil's going to share that. You can follow me on Insta. And I'm going to do a sleep session at 10 o'clock tonight. So I know it's late, but a lot of people are struggling to fall asleep before that. So we're going to do it at 10 o'clock. Please join me. Nature, okay, is really nice. When you're in nature, you feel so good about nature. You feel relaxed. We are a part of nature. In fact, can I ask everyone to breathe? Just do that with me. Take a deep breath in. And out. Now, when you take that deep breath in, where's that air coming from? Where's that oxygen coming from? It's coming from the trees. The trees are a part of your breathing system. If we don't have trees, we don't breathe. We are so tied up with nature, yet we try and think we're separate to nature. In fact, all of our language separates us from nature, but you are part of nature, and it's important to recognize that. And that helps calm you down. And as I said before, question your thought pattern. So for you, what's your number one thing? Out of all of these things, it could be something else. What's your go-to? Me, it's music and meditation. Sleep, Bhavana, nature, talking to someone. Silence, okay, nice. Music, chanting. Stitching, I like that, yeah. Music, nature, walking. Yeah, walking, so powerful. Just gets you going, running. Thanks, Mike, running. Yeah, and the key thing, what we want to be able to do is get rid of some of that adrenaline and cortisol. When we're feeling stressed, recognizing it. That's the first stage. Recognize, uh-oh, I'm feeling a bit stressed now. I need to do something about it before it gets out of control. So what I thought we'd do is we'd practice we'd do some meditation. I've got my guitar here, and we can do a little bit of music. We can get you all relaxed, unless you're already super relaxed. Colouring, yeah, my daughter loves colouring. And anytime she's feeling a little bit stressed, we just get her little colouring book out. She can sit for hours with that. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you, wherever you are, you can just close your eyes. Don't be self-conscious. Most people have got their video turned off. And just close your eyes. I want you to totally relax. I'm going to switch the share screen off now. Cool. So I just want you to, wherever you are, just close your eyes. And take a deep breath in. Hold. And out. And don't worry about trying to think of anything or not trying to think of anything. Just enjoy that peace. There'll be something knocking on your mind saying, but you've got to worry about this, and you've got to worry about that, and you've got to do this, and this needs to be done. Just ignore it. Nothing needs to happen other than you to totally relax. Deep breath in. Because if you get stressed, it's not going to change it. All you need to do is breathe. Deep breath in and out. Now, keeping your eyes closed, I want you to imagine that you're walking into a room, and this room is just how you would like a room to be, so that you can relax. It's got the right decor. It looks just how you would want it to be, for you to totally relax and be peaceful. And there's a beautiful chair or sofa, and you head towards that chair and just relax. Now I'm going to say some mantras, and as I say these mantras, just allow your mind to drift away, hearing the sounds, restoring balance in your mind, heart and body. Om Gyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Korangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpa Triyubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Just keeping your eyes closed. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So whenever you're ready, as I count down from 5, I want you to slowly start to open your eyes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And just open your eyes and re-enter the world. What I'd love to hear from you is, how did you feel during that experience? Did you feel relaxed? Did you feel less stressed? Did you feel more stressed? So whatever you felt, if you could just put it in the chat box, that would be great. Maybe we put people to sleep, so. Calm, relaxed, peaceful. Yeah, and what happens to your stress levels? Thanks, Kanta. Thanks, Bobney. What stress? That's okay. Yeah. So it's really important that we imagine, if you were to do this every day before you start your day, or before something that you know is going to be a stressful experience, and after you've had a stressful experience, the difference just helps us with that space between stimulus and response. And I've found any day I don't get my meditation right, then that's it. That space between stimulus and response, it's game over. I'm no longer in control. And the days that I get this right, I feel, yeah, like Davina said, I can feel like I can achieve anything, really. I feel like, yeah, I can do this. And even if I don't, I'm okay with it. If I don't get the result I was looking for, I'm chilled, I'm all right with it. And one of the things that in my coaching sessions that I've been doing, people have been feeling is anxiety, because lots of people have been or seem to be achieving things in this lockdown period. They're doing lots of things and they're putting on Facebook and Instagram, look at my life, I've done this, I've done that, and I've done this, and then other people are feeling, well, I haven't actually done anything, and I'm feeling really stressed out by that. And again, we can make sense of it. So we can say, well, look, someone else's success, this mantra I've been sharing with people, your success is not my failure. Just because someone else is achieving something doesn't mean that I'm not achieving something. Your success is not my failure. My success is not your failure. Your failure is not my success. And we keep going with that. It's a few iterations. But the point is, we can understand that, but then only when we practice something like meditation, something like this, does it help it all, just the noise just go away. And you think, you know what? I don't need to stress about that thing anymore. So Great. All right. Well, I just wanted to share that simple principle with you, space between stimulus and response, how that is under our control, and we can learn to control that, and some meditation with you as well. Obviously, there's a lot more to this subject, but just a 45-minute session, just so we can all have some quick tips, some useful things that we can do to relieve our stress and anxiety. But I'd love to open it out to questions. So any questions you've got, please just post it here uh, and let me know. So we'll spend this, what is it, last 10 minutes or so, Sahil, just with questions, Q&A?
Yeah, 5 or 10 minutes, however many there are. We got
Okay.
one of the ones that came to me was about when you are in a stressful situation and you feel like your response is going to be quick, what do you do in
Yep.
that particular moment? Any tips, any advice?
You know what, it's really hard, because in that space, in that time, the space between stimulus and response is already very, very narrow. And so what you need to do is, before that time, try and increase that, so that when you're in a stressful situation with what we call triggers that would trigger you, well, you already increased that gap, and therefore you're able to respond in a better way. And you can feel it kind of sneaking up on you. You know it. You can feel it there. Whatever it is, and generally it's always other people that stress us out. So it's an experience you're with there. There's some stress from that person. You're like, I can feel it. You're like, I've been in this experience before. I need to recognize I'm gonna lose it, or I'm gonna get stressed. Let me do something. And the number one thing at that point is walk away. Just walk away. Just, I'm here. I can feel that stress. So I just need 5 minutes, and then I'll think about how I'm going to respond. We think I need to respond now, otherwise I've lost the point. I've lost the. Well, the reality is, once you've lost it, you've lost it, and then it's hard to bring it back. Cool. Davina is asking, how can we advise a young student who is stressing about their exams? Now, Davina, this is so key. This is so important. The first thing is to recognize that level between good and bad stress. Good stress motivates us. I want to do well. I want to succeed. I want to achieve something. I want a good job. I want all these things. So it's good stress. I'm going to fail. If I don't do well, I'm never going to have a good job. No one's ever going to marry me. I'm going to have a suck at life. I'm going to be depressed. I'm going to live in a cardboard box. And my friends, like, that's just bad stress. Can you see that happening? It probably happened to us when we were younger. So what we want to do is we want to get that balance right. Good stress, yeah, great. Okay, you're going to achieve well. As soon as it starts to get bad, let's start putting it into perspective. I did my GCSEs, and sure, my GCSEs helped me with my A-levels, but I don't care about my GCSEs right now, what level I got. I did my A-levels, fine, they gave me the degree, but actually my degree was totally useless. I did electronic engineering. That's totally useless for what I'm doing now. Okay, I had a great time. I learned lots of things. I can design an amplifier if someone wants me to do it, or whatever, but it doesn't help me today. So quite often the thing that we think is super, super important and so stressful actually probably isn't that important and stressful. Do your best. It's about the balance between good stress and bad stress. So for me, it's all about getting perspective. What you're doing now, do your best. If you get a great result, you get a great result. If you don't, you tried your best. That's all that matters. You're still going to be okay in life. And that is really important for me in terms of school, exams, etc. How can I buy my eldest son in high school and stressed about pressure of schoolwork? Same thing. You can only do what you can do, and the result is what the result is. That's it. My brother, as an example, I'll give you an example of my brother. He is, when he was at school, he just was not academic. He couldn't do it. I was, I could just do it. I did my homework the night before, turn up to a maths exam, a little bit of study, blah, blah, blah. I'll be all right. Brother was not academic at all. He hated school, in fact, because it was driving him to do certain subjects that he just couldn't understand. Then when he left school, he became a teacher as well, and he was trying to find what it was his thing. And now, like me, he helps me run the business. He runs the office in New York, in fact. He is a corporate coach, goes around sharing his ideas, and he's found his thing. And in his GCSEs, he did all right, A-levels, okay, degree, okay. But it's totally irrelevant to now. And that's what I would say. Someone said, difference between good and bad stress, thought is attached to it. It's hard for me to explain to my anxious daughter without feeling lectured. you know what, sharing this stuff with somebody who's close to you is not easy, because it's hard for people to listen to someone who's too close to them, because number one, they think when you're explaining it to them, well, the first thing they're going to do is go, well, you're not perfect, you don't get it right. No, well, who made you? It's like, you're not saying you're perfect, but they can't see it any other way, because naturally we feel like we're being criticized at that point. So I would say always try and seek outside help, or try and get somebody else to talk to them. It's always so difficult to speak to somebody close to you. You know, this is what I do for a living. Would I dare try and talk to my wife about it and say, darling, I think you need to increase the space between stimulus and response? I mean, that's going to go down like a lead balloon. So you really have to choose your audience.
We have one more question that came in. It was, right now we have some space and time to be calm and practice these things, but when life gets back to normal and hectic, how can we hold on to this kind of stuff?
You know what, we often are under the illusion that I need to be doing in order to get a result. But that is so not the truth. There's this great theory by Stephen Covey, many of you have probably heard of his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he talks about building your life around this quadrant. I won't get into it because we haven't got time, except for this one quadrant. It's the quadrant of value. And that's the quadrant where if you take time out to develop in that quadrant, i.e. develop yourself, and it could be systems, it could be anything, but develop yourself, everything else starts to fall into place and seems to happen in a much better way. So you might think, I don't have time to do this. But if you don't do that thing, actually the time that you'll be spending on it is going to be inefficient. I'll give you a simple example to do with the body. So if we think about the body and exercise, people say, I don't have time to exercise because I'm super busy. Well, if you don't exercise and look after your body, well, that's going to catch up with you. There'll be a time where your body will say, shut down, can't do it anymore. That's it. You haven't got a choice. So it's better to take those steps now to look after your body, look after your mind, look after your soul, so that all of these things function in a much better and efficient way. So in simplicity, you've got the choice to take that time out, and it's really important that you do.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I think we have run out of time, but thank you so much for that session. Could everyone just share their gratitude on the chat so we can share it with Sanjay about how much that has helped us and how great that session has been. As you know, we're trying to do these sessions weekly, so hopefully we'll have another session next week, and we'll let you know about that in the future. And as we've shared the links, Sanjay's got some amazing material on his social media. He's got a fantastic album as recommended by Bhavini, so that is a huge recommendation. So please check it out. And just again, thank you so much, Sanjay, for that, taking your time out to give us this session. We're really grateful that we've had your time for about 15 minutes, and the meditation was amazing and the talk was really good. So thank you so much.
Great. Thanks for having me here. Also, I just want to appreciate the work that you all do, keeping the education system alive. And this Avanti schools are an amazing set of schools. So really, really grateful for all the service that you all do for children and humanity.